Hey guys, welcome back to another What If. Today we're doing part 3 to What If Naruto Became Kaguya. If you want to know what happened last part, then I'll be linking the description down below, which will take you to a place where you can watch the previous 2 parts and any other future parts that get added into this series. And yep, that let's get into this. So firstly, don't think I mentioned it in part 2, but I'm going to mention it here in the beginning. The changes to Naruto over the 1 month and 2 or 3-ish days, or 1 to 2-ish days since being injected with pretty much Kaguya's DNA, which was in a way slowly it was pretty much altering his own, so he would end up obviously becoming Kaguya physically but not mentally. Mentally it'd be Naruto, slightly different Naruto, but he'd still be Naruto. It wouldn't just end up, like Naruto would end up similarly dying out to being Kaguya. No, he'd be still fun loving Naruto, just different slightly. Anyway, so his changes would be his skin, which his skin would be somewhat slightly paler, and of course it would slowly get paler, but though he would still be considered tanned, but it was slightly noticeable. Yeah. His hair hadn't really changed that much, but it did change very slightly, but not very noticeable. The actual noticeable change in his hair was potentially the length, but even that wasn't all that much. Mainly due to the fact he was kind of looking at himself one day during the month and nearing the tail end of the month, so within like the last week, 2 days, he'd kind of like, he was gonna go cut his hair because it was starting to get somewhat long, but he ended up kind of not, has an odd, slightly almost discomfort feeling came across him when he was about to cut his hair, which had never happened before. And when he was looking at himself, he had had the somewhat almost constant thought of just letting it grow out, because why not? It wouldn't hurt him. And yeah, so he kind of, after seemingly trying to cut his hair for a couple of days, and with the kind of uncomfortableness actually increasing as he tried to in the later days, he just eventually kind of somewhat gave up. Though one thing he did notice was that his obviously hair was starting to kind of bend. It wasn't obviously being able to be spiky as much as it got longer. It got heavier. As it got heavier, it's going to obviously eventually get to a point in where it can't obviously hold itself up no more and will fall down flat. And anyway, that would be mainly all the changes, besides from a small somewhat amount of kind of just kind of gained maturity. But anyway, that would be all the changes at the moment, though certain potential things or thing could increase the rate of conversion to Kaguya. Anyway, though of course though Naruto would walk up somewhat, feeling obviously joyful in that, and kind of happy that he had kept his promise to Hinata. And yeah, though he would also kind of somewhat had decided also along the month, again, knowing the talent, that he would stop trying to, he would stop kind of making promises, or at least not exactly completely stop, but he would think it through first before promising it something. Yeah, because he didn't want to promise something and then completely fail to live up to it. Yeah, the somewhat kind of small maturity gained through conversion. Yeah. Anyway, though, anyway. Yeah. Though as he'd go up, the next person would be called, which is, if I remember right, it was, I can't remember his name, Shikamaru. And Tamari, of course, Tamari would obviously get down there, wanting to obviously fight him, and Shikamaru would state that it was, troublesome. And, yeah, and, somewhat Shikamaru would go to somewhat forfeit, and oddly enough, Naruto would feel almost a kind of somewhat slight anger. He didn't know why, but somewhat a tiny bit of him just wanted to just fling him, across the frickin' stadium. Though he'd end up just, patting him hard on the back, lighting and causing him to go over the somewhat rails and land on his ass. Was it his back? I don't know. Anyway, David somewhat glare upon Naruto, though he would just sound go troublesome blondes. And yeah, though of course Tamari would obviously do it. He used a fan, and the proctor would kind of somewhat, or at least warn her that if she tries that again, she'd would be kicked out of the tournament, and Shikamaru would end up obviously going to the next round. Yeah, Shikamaru and Tamari's fight would exactly go like in canon. There would be no differences because nothing's affected them yet. And yeah, of course, after that would go I forgot his name. The bug boy. I can't. Yeah. And yeah, though of course they wouldn't end up fighting because of Kankro forfeiting. And I think that was only 4 fights we saw, wasn't it? Anyway, yeah. Though after that, of course, Gaara's obviously fight would somewhat go down after. Well, yeah, it was. Though it was of course originally meant to obviously be the first one, but then, yeah. Anyway, though, Kakashi would push her obviously as potentially as far as possible back, and it was the reason obviously why I think the reason why Hiruzen kind of obviously allowed, obviously the seemingly kind of somewhat, kind of seemingly lazy, Kakashi to, have obviously, to turn up late with Sasuke, was because he'd probably told Kakashi, and Kakashi was like, yeah, somewhat no problem, and just literally decided to go, that's, give the others, a chance at becoming Genin and leave Sasuke's fight to the last. It would obviously make sense. You'd want the fight that would potentially, start the invasion to be the last one, so that if obviously the village is still standing afterwards, you could potentially, go through and obviously promote potentially promote the ones that you'd saw fighting. So yeah. And of course, a minute or so, just as the proctor was about to obviously state that Sasuke, that Sasuke would be would someone would be forfeiting due to a no-show, Kakashi and Sasuke would show up. And yeah, of course, from there, that fight would also it would go down the same up until the point of where they would end up. Well, of course, it would go the exact same. Where, of course, it would end up where the obviously where the Kanhai's thing would start. I can't remember the name of the arc. I think it was an arc. I don't think it was anyway. Yeah. And that would go down, and obviously Sasuke would run after Gaara as Tomara and Kankuro would obviously pick up Gaara and run away as Gaara was obviously starting to pull on more and more of Shikaku's chakra. And yeah, though they would end up actually going outside the village, or potentially inside the village, but just inside kind of just a massive ass forest. That, yeah. Anyway, though, because as though what that I forgot what they're called, the feathers. Feathers, the somewhat obviously white feathers of the Genjutsu would start falling, and out would notice them, and it would remember somewhat, though seeing them, he'd kind of stare at them, and though he would end up somewhat remembering that if he ever saw something that shouldn't exactly be possible, like, white feathers falling from literal nowhere, then it was potentially, as he put his hands together, yelling out release, dumping a ton of chakra into it, and pretty much obviously releasing it for a decent amount of people due to the sheer just chakra shockwave that would obviously come from Naruto, which would obviously not only somewhat disrupt his own chakra, but it also disrupt other people's chakra, allowing them to obviously stay awake. And though from, of course, there, Kakashi would end up going to Sakura and would obviously tell to go get Naruto and Shikamaru, and to go get go and aid Sasuke. Yeah, she'd nod, and she'd go and get Naruto and Shikamaru, and from there they would then, of course, head off like in canon to obviously try and aid Sasuke, though of course the same thing which would happen in canon, where they people would start some sound. Shinobu would obviously go after them, and of course they would end up trying somewhat having a small argument about obviously, though, and Sakura would obviously point out that that though obviously somewhat Naruto training, or at least having more specific training with Jiraiya would obviously somewhat he would somewhat look over at Shikamaru, and he would go, well, no, we can stay here, they will be honest shortly. No, and Shikamaru, you can just use your your shadow to keep them there, and Naruto would kind of somewhat look in the opposite direction, though he would pull out a kunai. Shikamaru would go slightly pale, but he would nod. Obviously, it would mean that they would be able to obviously go. Though Sakura would try and dissuade Naruto from doing that, though Naruto would point out that it was either that or literally, kind of potentially, leave either Shikamaru here and he dies, or something else. And because it was almost clear to Shikamaru that, you know, Sakura seemed to care more about, or at least somewhat slightly more about Sasuke than she really did kind of anyone else, which was a somewhat of a, you know, concern. I'm sure, you know, Sasuke obviously was somewhat strong, so he surely should be able to hold himself up for at least for a couple of seconds more. Yeah, of course, Parker somewhat told them that they would have to obviously make a decision now. And yeah, Naruto would just step beside Shikamaru with, yeah, Pakken would just somewhat go would just somewhat nod, somewhat knowing that there was no real answer needed, viable answer needed. And yeah, of course from there, those Sakura would kind of stand at the back, scared, of course, and yeah, Shikamaru would end up freezing them just like you would in canon, and this time instead of Asuma obviously coming to save him, it would be obviously someone Naruto would be there. So even though Asuma would still be probably coming towards them, you know, Naruto would end up killing. Well, yeah, he would end up making some shadow clones to just kill them a lot faster. And yeah, once they were all dead, Shikamaru would put a hand. You'd obviously cancel the jutsu. There was no point in holding it, and he'd go over and hold a hand to. So he'd put a hand on Naruto's shoulder, and yeah, Naruto would kind of let out a shaky breath, and he'd somewhat turn his head to Shikamaru as he'd say that he'd be fine, though they'd have to go and, you know, get Sasuke. Try and, you know, aid Sasuke. And Shikamaru would just somewhat nod as they would go and, you know, track on forward. And yeah, of course, a couple of seconds to a minute later, or half a minute later, Asuma would end up arriving to seeing dead, you know, the somewhat dead bodies of the sound ninja, and you'd know there were only obviously 5 people obviously forward: Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Shikamaru, actually 6, and 7, Gaara, Tamari and Kankuro, so 7. Yeah. Yeah, though, as they would end up going, of course they, so they end up going, of course they'd end up and, you know, kind of coming across Kankuro, though, to their surprise, Shino would obviously end up, you know, appearing, wanting, you know, a 1v1 against his, you know, actual opponent, and yeah, so they would now to be somewhat hesitant, though it would be very much Shino who would tell him that he would have this down, and that his bugs can somewhat his bugs kind of can do a lot more than what normal insects can do. Naruto would just somewhat nod, and yeah, he was never mean to obviously somewhat the to Shino. He was always just kind of fine with him, and yeah, you know, he didn't really all that care about bugs. Yeah. Anyway, and yeah, from there they would obviously go forward. Yeah, though, and yeah, to obviously and they would of course encounter. So Sasuke would obviously be somewhat panting as and yeah, though now Naruto and Sakura would obviously see that Sasuke was using the curse mark, and yeah, though of course they wouldn't really know what obviously it would be somewhat its effect on Sasuke, as Sakura obviously somewhat wouldn't have had to, you know, have cuddled Sasuke, and she did in canon to calm him down. yeah. Anyway, though, they would, though that fight would also go down somewhat similarly, though, of course, after similarly, Shino would end up defeating, Kankro. I'd presume Shino would end up going back to the village, and though Asuma would end up, obviously, though Shino would obviously end up showing Asuma that he would have it, and that he should, go help Naruto Sasuke in that. Yeah, he would nod and, obviously, he'd, go and try and, provide some amount of help. I'd presume about the time just before he would potentially arrive, Garu would end up letting out Shikaku. Yeah, of course, Asuma seeing the giant one-tails would run as fast as he can, to them, arriving there within a few seconds, and yeah, of course, somewhat. Yeah, Shikamaru would, just stare up and would wonder how on earth they were going to fight something like that. None of them could, had enough chakra to transform into something, equal as somewhat equally as large as that. Well, ironically, Naruto could, but nobody knew how much chakra he really had thus. Yeah. Anyway. Asuma would obviously somewhat ask them if they had any plan against that, and Shikamaru, they would kind of all turn around, and of course Sasuke was slightly getting more. Well, by this point he knew he wasn't going to be able to beat that thing. He knew that. He may be arrogant, but he isn't all that stupid. He may have done do stupid things, but he wasn't that stupid. And though they'd end up trying a few things, though Sakura being seemingly, or at least more of the somewhat useless, and the seemingly being the least, amount of thoughtful, though, or at least the least usefulness, Shikaku would end up managing to obviously get Sakura, or at least, kind of bounding her to a tree somewhat tightly, which would obviously cause the others to kind of, try and do it harder, and and that's when, Shikaku would also end up going, was the one that felt seemingly somewhat like his brother. Though Naruto would bite his, as Sand would obviously come up around him, Naruto would bite his hand and would start going through the hand signs as Shikaku, like in canon, would go, Sand cough, and Naruto would yell out, summoning jutsu, as obviously Gamma Bunta would end up appearing. Gamma Bunta, though, as the smoke would disappear, Gamma Bunta would go, geez, what's with you damn blondes and going up against the freaking tailed beasts. Naruto would somewhat chuckle, slightly knowing somewhat Gunbinter was referring to the, or at least somewhat 12 years ago, the Nine-Tailed attack, in that the fourth Kage summoned him to do with the Nine-Tails, and Naruto was now doing the exact same thing with the One-Tailed Hail. It was at least potentially perceived weaker, so he may have a slightly easier time then, though then again, that fox couldn't potentially control sand, but Shikaku can, because he's practically, he is sand, and so though of course Sakura would be out by this point, but Sasuke, Pakun, Shikamaru and Asuma would be damn, surprised and shocked, at what Naruto could do. And yeah, especially Asuma, as you know, obviously that somewhat the obviously the Toad Summoning contract only belonged to Jiraiya. It used to belong also to the fourth Kage up until he died, and yeah. So it seemed though you'd realise that obviously Naruto had been trained under under Jiraiya, and yeah, and that he could with seemingly ease summon Gamabunta, and it seemed like they had a a decent relationship by the way Gamabunta had somewhat remarked. Yeah, it was obviously in a kind of joking way, non-hostile. Yeah. Though, of course, from there, it would obviously tell us that, tell the others that it was pointless trying to obviously, fight. Obviously, they would just be getting in Naruto's way, and that they should try, to get Sakura out. And yeah, so they'd be obviously trying to do that. They'd keep an eye on Tamari just in case she tries to potentially do something, though it seems like she was heavily obviously fixated on somewhat Naruto and Gaara, or Naruto on top of the Toad and her some brother that was now Shikaku. And yeah, and well, yeah, though, because eventually Naruto would end up yelling out transform, which, well, yeah, and yeah, though Asuma would end up somewhat looking over to hearing, Naruto somewhat yelling that out, and he'd be surprised when, in a giant, or at least after that, leaping forward out of the smoke was a giant 9-tailed fox, and he wouldn't somewhat pale, he'd just be shocked, as that would mean that Naruto had met the Nine-Tails, or had some vague idea of what it looked like. And yeah, because Naruto had heard obviously stories and roughly what it looked like. He didn't exactly have a great idea of what it looked like, though. He presumed it was a normal sized fox, though just gigantic-sized, and with 9 tails and red slitted pupils. And yeah, so it literally just looked like a normal gigantic-sized 9-tailed fox. And yeah, and obviously somewhat Asuma would know that the 9-tailed fox didn't exactly look like that, in which he'd realised Naruto probably didn't exactly know what it truly looked like, but it was clear he did have a decent idea of what it looked like. Anyway, well, the name was pretty obvious. Yeah. Anyway, though, of course, after that, the fight would go pretty much the same, with Cameron to end up eventually managing to get a hold on Shikaku with it, and yeah, Naruto would obviously would end up releasing the jutsu and going up headbutt, and yeah, though he would end up obviously getting somewhat stuck, and he would end up kind of trying to though he'd end up kind of flooding his body with as much chakra as he could, which would end up kind of causing, or at least somewhat trying to, though he'd end up feeling a small amount of fox's chakra, he'd end up begrudging knowing that he'd have to use it right here now, so he'd pull on it though, and would just use a small amount of it, which would cause his bright blue eyes to go slit-like, and he would end up headbutting Gaara, of course causing Gaara to wake up and send, of course, an outside glare, which would cause Shikamaru damn it, I've been saying this name now, I've forgotten it. Sukaku to yell out, no, I just got here. And yeah, though when they would start seeing it crumble to dust, they would all kind of let out a sigh of relief, and yeah, Naruto would end up, well, he's just, as it was obviously crumbling, he'd managed to get his foot in again and would jump back over to Gamabunta. And yeah, from there, Gamabunta would end up somewhat telling the boy that that it'd be, somewhat his time was coming up as well, and that he'd be returning. Naruto would nod and would obviously thank him for his help. And yeah, though Gamabunta would just somewhat remark to not try and go fight a freaking tailed beast next time. Try not to pick a fight with a tailed beast. Right in Cherokee, that and Naruto would just kind of let out a chuckle at that, and he would nod, stating that he would try his best to not sort of annoy any somewhat wayward kind of crazed Chinchuriki. Which Gamabunta would just somewhat sigh, and yeah, then Naruto would end up from there, of course he would disappear, and Naruto would obviously land on a branch. Yeah, though they would, I think, try and go forward or they would end up falling forward, or at least Naruto still being relatively fine, as the main reason why he was so tired in the first place was due to having all his chakra points shut, then having them forcefully reopened by the Fox's chakra, use the Fox's chakra, which we know is a heavy drain on Naruto, especially he's this young, and yeah, even though he may be balanced in yin and yang though, so it'd put slightly less, it would just be somewhat less tiring due to the fact he'd be more, I guess, spiritually whole in the good and evil department. And yeah, anyway, though so after, of course, that, he would end up telling obviously Gaara that he didn't need to kill to prove his existence, and that he taught no jutsu. And yeah, though of course by the time the others would arrive, Tamari and Kankuro had already kind of managed to leave, and yeah, though Naruto had already obviously started turning around and was walking back to them, definitely somewhat tired due to just having to summon up Gamabunta. So it was that, and while just using or at least a small amount of the Fox's chakra. So it was small, but it still put a small amount of burden on him, and so it would be somewhat tired, but yeah, they would end up going back to Konoha, and of course with Gaara and his brother and sister, Gaara would end up telling them, would end up calling them by name and just telling them that he was sorry, they would look out for one another, and Kankuro would end up saying that it was okay. And yeah, from there, pretty much by Team 7 plus 2 quarters of Team 10 would somewhat come out somewhat off the forest, and obviously to more of Konoha's village. They would obviously see somewhat ninja, obviously, or either some dad and that, but yeah, though an Amber would end up dropping down, obviously, as he'd try and, trying to search for, Asuma. He would end up dropping down and he would look to Asuma and, yeah, he would end up, somewhat telling them that the third had died. Naruto would be somewhat shocked, as from what, Dried's someone told him during their somewhat breaks and that the third was, even though he may seem old, he was, incredibly damn strong. And yeah, of course, Naruto just couldn't believe that, he'd die that, easily, and yeah. And of course, it'd be somewhat a shock to him, because, yeah, he was close to Hiruzen and that. Yeah, and of course from there the funeral would happen. And yeah, though Jiraiya, after the somewhat funeral, I'd presume a day later, would kind of arrive and would end up somewhat telling Naruto that somewhat he was tasked with finding, or at least leaving, somewhat he was tasked with somewhat finding the fifth Hokage. Naruto just somewhat looked down and nod and would simply state that he obviously so he wouldn't be here. Jiraiya would nod and he would state, well, that, and well, the reason why I'm actually here though is I'm curious to know if you'd like to come along. I've got permission, so you can come along with me. Now to look up and go, you'd want me? I'd go, of course. And, of course, plus, somewhat, somewhat whilst we're on the road, I can teach you a jutsu as well. Now to, kind of look out and go, really? You'd really teach me a jutsu as well? And go, sure, Bran, sure. And from there, Naruto would kind of somewhat nod, and of course they would end up yeah. So Jiraiya tell him to somewhat grab to somewhat get packing, as they'd be leaving in about half an hour to an hour from now. Naruto would obviously nod and would go and obviously get packing. So half an hour to an hour later, they would Naruto would arrive at the front gates to see Jiraiya, and from there they would sort of leave to obviously go and find Tsunade. Yeah, though Naruto would turn to Jiraiya as they would walk through the gates, and would ask who would they be trying to find. Jiraiya would somewhat smile as he'd go my old teammate Naruto. Naruto would start him and would go the traitor Orochimaru. Jiraiya would somewhat pen and go, what? No. Kami knows Naruto. No, at least the one that was that's known throughout the shinobi world of revolutionizing medical ninjutsu. And Naruto would just kind of stare at him and and Jiraiya would just stare at him and go, you have no clue, do you? He would just shake his head, going, nope. I either skipped that academy lesson or they just didn't bother teaching me it. Jiraiya would just kind of sigh at that. More than likely skipped. And yeah, he'd just sigh and he'd go, well, she's Tsunade Senju, the granddaughter to the first Hokage, so she's kind of considered a princess of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto would be somewhat surprised and shocked at that. yeah, though he'd end up going, so we're going to find a though it's kind of though he'd look at trying to go so Pervy Sage, why exactly are we looking for her then? Shouldn't she be in the village? I would end up sighing and would kind of end up telling him of, or at least a bit of Tsunade's past. Not all that much, but enough to give him, a good enough of an idea that she had obviously left due to just very much a, shattered heart and that, and yeah. Whilst Naruto would slightly want to argue, or at least, state that, that was just, stupid, and that he would, another part of him would, he would just kind of nod, simply saying that he could somewhat understand. Dry would quirk an eyebrow like that, and he'd state that pretty much with the third, or at least dad, he didn't, I hear that he just, right now felt like just running away from the village, or just running, kind of leaving to, hunt down Orochimaru to, and yeah, that, and just kind of just not knowing kind of almost what to do as the third, he'd, was a grandfather to him, he was close. Yeah, that, and he'd state that, he'd wanted to obviously, he'd obviously tell Dry that he'd felt like, run away several times when he was younger, and yeah, of course he never did, but, Dry would just nod, and yeah, Naruto would kind of mentally wonder why enough he was telling, Dry this. He didn't need to know it, yet he kind of was, and yeah. Yeah, Dry would kind of sigh as he would state that he could also somewhat slightly understand as, he'd state that the fourth Kaguya was like a son to him, a son he never had, and that when he'd sacrificed his life, or at least when he'd gotten word that he'd sacrificed his life to seal away the nine-tailed fox, he'd said that he was crushed, and when he came here to see if it was true, of course it was, he'd stated that he'd stayed for his funeral and had then just left to kind of protect the village from the other shinobis, hardly ever obviously, going back to the village, and yeah. Naruto would somewhat nod at that, and yeah. They were somewhat slightly alike in that way. Yeah, though he'd also state that somewhat and that also Kakashi said a also slightly dark past, so that was for him to say and not that was obviously for Kakashi to tell him and not him. Yeah, Naruto would kind of just nod, though he'd be somewhat surprised that Kakashi had seemingly something of a difficult life, as from what he'd seen, from from his sense, he wouldn't think really, of that. Yeah, and though of course, though after that they would go quiet for her, and yeah, though Dryer, though Naruto would then, after seeing some, after seemingly like an hour or so on the road, Naruto would kind of ask Dryer when he'd be teaching him that jutsu. Dryer would kind of side stating that he needed a couple of things, pretty much two things, and that the village annoyingly didn't have any. And yeah, Naruto would ask what they were, and Dryer just state, or at least the first, or at least step for the exercise required a water balloons. Naruto would crack an eyebrow, but would kind of go into his somewhat jacket and would go, somewhat, Pervy Sage, how many? you'd just kind of you'd stop and stare at Naruto as you'd go, or you just carry them, and Naruto would kind of go, well, I did kind of do planks, and I never never know when you may need something, especially kind of maybe water balloons, or yeah, you never know when you may somewhat need obviously something, because yeah, the dryer could something like that. As water balloons obviously can somewhat subdue for maybe, if you've got a canteen that's leaking, just shove the canteen, or at least the water balloon, around the canteen, and lo and behold, you're not losing any water now. Or yeah. Anyway, though Jiraiya would tell him, or at least would tell him just 2 for right now. Naruto would nod, and he would give both of them to Jiraiya. You'd end up kind of filling one with somewhat water. Well, yeah, you'd end up filling both of them with water, giving Naruto one, and you'd end up telling him that the jutsu, that he wouldn't exactly reveal the name of the jutsu yet. Though you would tell him that it's a jutsu that very, very few knew. Naruto would ask how many, and he'd go, you can count it on one hand. And yeah, Naruto would be surprised and would go, so at least potentially 5 or less people knew, which, yeah, Jiraiya would go less, or at least more people obviously know of this jutsu's existence. It's just less than 5 can actually perform the jutsu. Yeah. Naruto would nod, and yeah, Jiraiya would end up just showing him, a pin pop in a balloon, and he would end up telling Naruto that he would have to spin his chakra in a circle, somewhat to pop the balloon, to pop the water balloon. You'd have to spin it in. You'd have to kind of spin it, and yeah. Naruto would nod, and he'd spend the rest of the day trying to pop it, though. Of course, after that, Jiraiya would end up telling him that it was somewhat hard, and Jiraiya obviously nods, stating that it was a very hard jutsu, though. Though he would end up walking around and kind of looking at Naruto's hand. Naruto would ask what he was doing, and Jiraiya would simply tell him to rotate it in the direction he told Naruto and Ken, and Naruto would ask him why, and he would tell him that everyone's chakra system, or at least had a rotation to it, and that fighting against chakra's natural rotation was it made it a lot more harder. Though Naruto would ask, wouldn't that be better? And though Jiraiya whilst it would help you in chakra control, for right now we want jutsu, not chakra control potential. Naruto would just nod at that and would rotate it in the way in which Jiraiya had told him, telling him that it was a lot easier. Yeah, though from there he would try and, mess about for a couple of days trying to figure out how Jiraiya had gotten it to be all bumpy around, up till the point where he'd kind of almost, so it ended up just kind of being somewhat frustrated to, or at least that point, and somewhat losing control of the water spinning, and he would see it momentarily bump. And yeah, of course, having chakra in there, he'd realise that the chakra had kind of collided, the water currents had collided into one another, causing a bump on the balloon. And so from there, he would try to do it, and yeah. And from there, he would, he would somewhat try and spin it, and yeah, and though he'd find it somewhat hard to obviously spin in all directions, and just, yeah, though he'd try and spin it faster, and whilst it did increase the obviously frequency of water clashing with one another, he would also somewhat realise that if he could also make it spin in more directions and faster at the same time, it would potentially pop the ball, the water balloon, faster, and overall be stronger in whatever reason why. And so he would, which would cause it to actually just somewhat blow with a lot less chakra usage, unlike kind of in Canon where I think he uses, he'd use more chakra simply because he's trying to spin a small amount of chakra, so he's trying to make obviously a small amount of chakra collide out, in one another. Yeah. Anyway, so after that, he'd end up, telling Dry to ask for another, somewhat to obviously prove him that Naruto had given one dry fill up with water, and Naruto had perceived to somewhat just about do it with one hand. And I mean one hand, he wouldn't use this other one. Dry would go, well done, Brad, and you got it so soon as well. Damn it, it took me so many days to get that down. Well done. Naruto would gain a somewhat smile, and though he'd go the next one, you're gonna have to wait a bit. Naruto would sigh, though he'd go, though you can give me another one. You can start doing the chakra based exercise now. We'll spin it in the opposite direction. Naruto someone would nod, though he would ask if he should try and make it spin faster or kind of add more somewhat water clashing in with one another. Dry would of course know that as kind of adding more layers to the Rasengan. The more layers you added to within the Rasengan, the more powerful it got. And of course trying to make it spin faster did require more chakra, though in other words, Naruto was pretty much asking, should I make it either spin faster or kind of densify it more? He'd look at Naruto and he'd go, try and make it try and add more layers to it, or in other words, try and make Naruto somewhat nod, and as well, and of course, and so somewhat a week somewhat also later, about a week after they'd left Konoha, they would end up arriving to the somewhat first town, which Dry would end up getting somewhat water balloons and also rubber balls. And he obviously wasn't sure how many water balloons Naruto had, as he hadn't told him, and plus he was pretty sure that Naruto probably didn't actually know the precise amount he had. He probably just knew he had a load, probably around 100 water balloons, which was the general normal amount in a single package sold in Konoha. So, but and if he, anyway. That's why I'm going to end this part here, guys. So if you have enjoyed this part, do tell me in the comments down below, and of course if you want part 4, do say. And guys, hope you guys have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever you watch this, and good bye.